Now I'm really pleased to welcome our last two speakers for today. Brian Steinberg, editor at Variety, is going to interview John Halley, the COO of Ad Revenue and EVP for Advanced Marketing Solutions at ViacomCBS. So welcome to John and Brian.
Hi, Jane.
Hi there.
Hey, Brian. What's going on?
How are you doing?
Good to see you.
You too. Thanks for being here, and thanks everyone for watching. You know, as we have been hearing all day, the TV or the video business is on the cusp of a lot of big changes that are going to create a lot of new systems, a lot of new ways of management, and I think John can help us navigate through some of that. Hopefully, if not, we'll table it for another time. We have a lot of questions for you, John.
Great.
Let's just kind of start off. Look, as marketers are trying to understand their customers in this kind of multi-screen world. What's your view on where currency is evolving to? Are there what would be the base of these transactions? What's your point of view on where kind of the evolution of currency is moving towards?
I mean, yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's good seeing everybody and the other panelists on the call. I just want to reiterate that I think we're all looking forward to being with each other physically at some point. Hopefully that's soon. But hats off to CIMM. Actually, I think this has gone really, really well. A lot of great panelist discussions, and I think a lot of like interesting, compelling statements made so far. And I think that we've been talking about measurement, cross-screen measurement. I really do think that one of the topics of the day is currency, though, and it relates to the consumer fragmentation that everybody has been talking about, which just makes the challenge of understanding exposure and outcomes, incredibly complicated. And I think everyone would agree that like the current state of measurement it's just not adequate, right? It needs to really change quite a bit to get us where we need to go. I would say that the future state, ideal future state would probably include a few things. So, and you've heard this, I think, from prior panelists, right? We need a deeper understanding of deduplicated reach and frequency across all endpoints, right? Not just in silos. We need standardization, around things like audience definitions and key metrics. We need much deeper insights around brand campaign performance and attribution. These are things you hear in the marketplace constantly. And to Adam Gerber's point earlier, we need an enhanced consumer ad experience, which can be brought about by better targeting and reduced waste, but under much stricter privacy compliance, right? That is a current right now that I think everybody's got to pay a lot of attention to, because it's going to fundamentally change how we do business. So on the currency front, we see kind of multiple interesting, pretty compelling developments on the buy side, on the sell side, everywhere in between. Jane mentioned at the top the ANA WFA initiative, which is a framework for multi-screen measurement. I would say it's at the blueprint phase. There's been a very good back and forth between publishers and the ANA. The Video Advertising Bureau is kind of consolidating all the publisher input, and that conversation is underway. And I think that one's in progress, right? That's there's some work to do there, but it's underway. I think there's more interesting and exciting organic developments, though, around currency. So when I look at the advanced planning systems that a lot of the agencies have put into place, and these are planning products that allow agencies to better allocate cross-screen and cross-publisher based on insights for high-value consumer segments. That to me is like a very important development, because those aren't just planning systems, right? They actually can transform into, they can transform potentially into buying platforms, right? All of these systems at the agencies come attached with currency grade systems of measurement. And so, there is an opportunity for us in the very near term to align these guarantees to the consumer segments that are used to allocate the dollars in the first place. And, using, for instance, video app currency, and that's pretty exciting for me. We've had like a lot of inbound requests from agencies to do just that. We can execute those with Advantage, our advanced advertising product. And those are like, as someone said earlier, like there's a lot of stuff that's happening now. We don't have to wait for multiple years and think about an alternative reality. We can actually move forward now. And I think that the other two big players here, ComScore and Nielsen, have made movements forward. I think ComScore with the recapitalization will be investing more money in engineering. I think we're hopeful that product will come along. And of course, Nielsen One, which addresses all these challenges under a single measurement solution with a staged roadmap. And I promise, Kelly, I won't think about 2024 points well taken. There is a lot. There's going to be a lot of more immediate improvements they're going to be making that will be available in the near term. But I think like the point is that like all of these things are happening simultaneously, and they're happening now. And the measurement marketplace is diversifying. It's segmenting. And I would just say that like the notion that the entire market needs to move against a single currency just doesn't have any resonance anymore, right? There's a number of ways to transact. And I think there's an open desire for, different agencies and different advertisers to attack it in different ways. And, we're committed to supporting all of those ways. And I think that there's going to be a real, I think, interesting couple of years ahead of us where we see the market really start to transact in a variety of ways, variety of different measurement systems based on what brand objectives are and based on data set preference and the like.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, internally at a company like yours or others. What needs to happen in the TV networks as this all starts to branch out? What kind of billing systems and traffic needs to be upgraded? What kinds of, if you're transacting and making these negotiations every day, what do you think clients want to see happen in terms of just the nitty-gritty of getting these orders made and these audiences collected and planned out?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like the challenge of operationalization is, it's obviously, paramount, and moving to a strategy to support multiple currencies carries a lot of implication around system work, right? We have to evolve our planning systems. As I mentioned, I think that agencies have done that. It's either, most of that work is either been done or is in progress. And a lot of the work on our side, at least at ViacomCBS, is underway. I mean, I can tell you that, we will be supporting multiple currencies within our existing planning and posting system architecture, like the one that exists now, by April, right? So it will be seamless to our underlying business processes, right? And like the challenge there is, we just say like, look, we think that swapping source currencies that's a challenge and needs to be handled inside of your existing system, right? It shouldn't require a new system. We need to figure out how to retrofit and be facile enough within those technology suites to handle alternative currencies, and that work's being done now. And we're gonna have versions of it in April, and we'll be ready to go on a more expanded basis. But
you think about spying for anything that's evolving?
Well, I mean, they are different processes now, and I think that basically relates to a planning and activation difference, right? Which is a function of the linear versus digital, underlying platform capabilities, right? So, if you think about the way digital gets transacted, a panelist was talking earlier about kind of the workflow benefits of digital, right? I mean, the digital process for audience targeting involves like the loading of an audience segment, which is, essentially a list of device IDs that, that meet an audience criteria, and loading that into either DSP or directly into ad server. The ad gets served based on a match, right? It's just a very straightforward workflow. Now, it's not like digital isn't perfect because you have, you still have things like signal availability across the device footprint, or the quality of the underlying device graph. There's still a lot of holes. It's not a perfect thing, but the actual like activation part of it is much more straightforward, and I think it's a real advantage. It does require, I would say, like advanced audience targeting in digital requires a huge footprint. I mean, Mike Dean has this phrase that you have to be big to deliver small, which is like one of my favorite things. And, we can do that. I mean, we have a large unique footprint, 50 million full episode uniques per month. We can accommodate that. I think you have to be a pretty scaled digital player to deliver sizable advanced advertising budgets in digital. When I look at the TV side, right, that's very much aligned to traditional process. You forecast an audience segment, you create plans to deliver against that segment, you optimize based on actual delivery information, you tune forecasts, adjust delivery plan, move on. So like, that's very much kind of a more traditional concept of forecast optimized deliver. One of the interesting things about TV delivery is that we can now supplement our delivery of advanced targets using our addressable footprint, which, as Mike mentioned, we have 41 million households that we can reach adjacent to the linear flight. So we can, essentially boost the reach of whatever that segment is. So, in the TV example, like the advantage is reach. It's reach. It's all about reach in TV. And, in digital activation, the benefit is workflow. As we move forward and we start to think about the future, like we want the best of both, right? We want the workflow of digital, with the reach of the expanded, footprint of television. And I think that eventually we'll get there. But it is going to require, I think, a lot of change in the way that we're supported by the by the systems and vendors that we conduct that business. But it's not, none of that is lost on us.
Yeah. One big question I think a lot of people have, or from people who have been in this for a long time, is all these new audience buying technologies focus on the end the audience, the consumer, first time mothers or auto intenders. Do the shows still matter? Does content still matter when you're looking at buying populations and niche groups?
Yes, it does matter. It will always matter. Context and content will always be critically important. Many of the best opportunities exist where the audience is biggest, right, and the engagement is highest. So, like in the extreme case, CBS is televising the Super Bowl, right? But it goes down from there. It goes to prime original schedule. It goes to other tentpoles like the Grammys. Advertisers care a lot about the environment and the context for brand messaging because they want to meet the consumer at a high state of awareness, right? And that is never ever going to go away. There's always going to be these concepts of what is premium, and the notion of quality is related to the outcome of awareness and the consumer state of awareness. Now, there's another question of like, does all advertising need to be specifically planned to individual programs? And I think the question there is obviously not. In fact, like the vast majority isn't. But there is this concept about premium and engagement, right? I mean, we live in the attention economy. That's a real thing, right? That is a very, very real thing. It's what underlies these products. And the question of like, have you garnered enough focus of a viewer so that a marketing message can land, right? Are they engaged enough to sit through a couple minutes of advertising? That's actually a really high bar. And I think that people don't necessarily have an appreciation for that. But it's the reason that long form content viewed on a TV screen is really like the gold standard in awareness marketing. I mean, context totally matters. It always will.
Yeah. Let me ask, and our time is running short, so I want to get this question out to you. look, there are dozens of different companies selling these things, audience segments that people are defining different ways by the company, by advertiser. What's the role of an open AP? Because I know ViacomCBS is involved in. What's the role of that going forward as more of the business transitions to sort of negotiation?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, it's important. Any system of standardization is important for our business, to move forward and evolve, right? We've talked about these challenges of, related fragmentation, right? Those things can be overcome through business rules and process. And that's fundamentally, that was the reason OpenAP was founded. And, it started out doing one thing and it's now doing four things. But, at the end of the day, as David Levy said earlier, it's, how do we make it as easy to buy an advanced campaign as it is to buy a demo campaign, right? There are challenges, right? Buyers need consistent audience definitions. Buyers need to be able to cross-publish or optimize. Sellers need to streamline their processes around, data and reporting. And so the idea of OpenAP was to, it's to platformize the premium video offering of capital T television, our business, the business, so that, what is a group of competitors, or, what we used to think of maybe as competitors, as Denise Colella said, we're actually more collaborators trying to solve these industry problems, so that we can, offer our customers the capabilities that they need to transact and target in the most sophisticated manner possible, right? I mean, there's always going to be a multitude of players in premium video, and how do we overcome the limitations that brings? I mean, that's where we see the role of OpenAP, and I think as we go forward, the kinds of challenges that the consortium will take on will just will continue to expand, because as the business moves forward, the number of challenges continues to expand.
That is great. I think our time is just about to tick away. So
that was quick.
It. That's always a pleasure to see you and everybody else.
All right. Great, Brian. Great seeing you. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks so much, Brian and John, for that terrific conversation. I really enjoyed that.